to Unnecessary Roughness. I'm your host for Fantasy Alarm, Ray Flowers. Before we look ahead to Week 16 championship week in the fantasy game, let's look back to Week 15 and go through some of the biggest performers at each of the positions. And we're going to start with the number 4, as the number of quarterbacks who had at least 4 touchdown passes in Week 15. Eli Manning's on pace for 36 touchdown passes this year. He did it. No one likes Eli Manning. He threw 4 touchdown passes against the Carolina Panthers. Pretty impressive effort there. Teddy Bridgewater had 4 touchdown passes in 7 games. Somehow threw 4 touchdown passes in Week 15. Folks, stay far away from Teddy Bridgewater. Don't play him in the championship week because of what you saw last week. Also had a touchdown on the ground. 4 touchdown passes and ground score for Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins got 16 touchdowns, 2 interceptions in home games. Week 16 and Week 17, he's on the road. On the road this season in 6 games. 6 touchdown passes, 9 interceptions. Be very nervous about him. And then Cam Newton, superstar. Newton and Wilson lighting the world on fire. Cam Newton over his last 5 games, 18 touchdown passes, 1 interception. He is playing some great football. Second number of the day is 4, as in the number of running backs who went over 100 yards in Week 15. Not a lot of 100-yard runners. Darren McFadden barely had 100 yards, reestablishing himself as a guy that you can start with some level of confidence even if he doesn't get in the end zone. Alfred Blue barely went over 100 yards as well. He had 20 carries, though, reestablishing himself as the guy he'd lost the starting spot because of injury. He's back in that role. Middling talent, but a guy who looked pretty good in Week 15. The next guy is Rashad Jennings. Went over 100 yards, had a rushing score. 2 straight games he's been over 100 yards from scrimmage as Tom Coughlin finally figuring out that they should give the ball to him more frequently. And then the star of the week, David Johnson. 29 carries, 187 yards, 3 touchdowns. Superstar in the making here, folks. A great offense that can certainly pass the ball. Johnson, running back 1 in Week 16, just like he was in Week 15. Next number today is 5 is the number of wide receivers that went over 150 yards. We had Deshaun Jackson had a long touchdown. Wasn't really earned. It was kind of some bad tackling, but still over 150 yards. Got into the end zone. Jordan Matthews showed up. I don't know where the hell this came from. We haven't seen Jordan Matthews do anything for long stretches of time. Really been an invisible player about the last month and a half. He went for over 150 yards. Emmanuel Sanders had a long touchdown. He went for 180 yards. The first game he's really stood out with Brock Osweiler. It's mostly been about Demaryius Thomas with Osweiler under center, but Sanders got his. Mike Evans had 9 catches for 157 yards. Evans had 17 targets, and that's something we're going to have to look at seriously in the offseason. The fact he only catches about 55% of the balls thrown to him, but he had a big effort. Though obviously the biggest effort was by Antonio Brown. 16 catches, 189 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's remarkable. He is absolutely remarkable. If Ben Roethlisberger hadn't been hurt, this would have been one of the handful of greatest seasons in the history of football for a pass catcher for Antonio Brown. As it is, he's well over 110 catches. He's almost at 1,600 yards, double-digit touchdowns. All these things are happening for Antonio Brown, the best wide receiver in football. And then the final number of the day is 2, as the number of tight ends that went over 80 yards. Not a big week for tight ends. One of those guys, the leader in yardage, was Antonio Gates, who had 88 yards. The other guy is the one I want to talk about, Jordan Reed. In 3 of his last 4 games, he's had at least 7 catches for 84 yards. He's scoring touchdowns. He's catching passes. He's getting yards. Concern with Cousins and him on the road. I mentioned that at the top of this video. But the fact is, Jordan Reed this year proving that he's a top 5 tight end as long as he can stay on the football field. Ray Flowers, Unnecessary Roughness, FantasyAlarm.com, FantasyAlarm.com, place to win. Fantasy football, fantasy baseball, fantasy golf, fantasy everything, fantasy life.